Yeah, you're good to go, my friend.
All
Thank you.
right, fantastic. Welcome, everybody. I'm Cynthia Payne, and I would like to start off by just profusely thanking Sherry Huss and Joe Such for all this hard work that they have put into the Maker Music Festival, and not just today, but all year long. And it's the Maker Music Festival and campus now. So we really have to start thinking in terms of it being a whole campus of its own. And these new buildings are so exciting. And I'm very proud to be in the Lori Spiegel building. I've been in touch with her since the beginning that I started in 2000. So yes, can everybody just turn your mics on and let's give a round of applause and a yay, yay, yay for Sherry and Joe. Yeah. Fantastic.
Well,
Thank
thank all of you because we couldn't do it without you. So
well,
it's a community, and that's kind of what makes it so special. So thank you.
yeah, yeah. Just your ability to round people up and get people excited is just it's really a super um, valuable. So I see Emmanuel on my screen. Is that what you want? Hi, Emmanuel. Sherry.
Oops. Yes.
Okay. And everybody's giving kudos to you
Oh,
for
well, thank you.
your wonderful work, you and Joe.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Um, so is anyone here going to workshop with me as I demonstrate how to set up JackTrip and be in a metaverse at the same time? Now I see Sherry on my screen.
Oh, you,
Okay.
um,
So I don't know.
what are
Should I?
you? Are you in your view?
Yeah. I'm in speaker view and I see you.
Is that all?
Go to
Go to
gallery.
gallery view.
Go to gallery view. Let's see, speaker view. I don't. Gallery. Yeah, you're highlighted.
I'm
Now
highlighted.
on the mic I see myself. Have you pinned me or
You are pinned.
okay.
Let, um, let me turn my camera off. I don't know why that is.
Okay. What are you seeing, Ross? You're seeing me now, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing you. I think you have to go, and when you look at the screen in the upper right-hand corner on the black screen, it says view.
Yeah.
Are you checking that? And if you click on that, if you're on
Yeah.
the speaker view, you should be on the gallery view. The speaker view is just for the person's talking. Their
Oh, who's
face
ever
pops up.
talking? Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah,
All right. I got confused. All right,
yeah, me
so
too.
this part of the recording gets erased. So anyway, who's here to workshop? Anybody? Because Ross, you're set up. Did you get Sign Space and JackTrip and everything? No. Okay.
I don't
So
know.
so let's not get too involved in the workshop part, because if you're not already somewhat downloaded and so forth, then you probably uh yeah. So I'll just tell y'all, JackTrip is a software program that enables live music sessions uh, between people over the internet from different locations. And of course, if you're under 300 miles, it's going to be very low latency. If you're over 300 miles, there's a lot of things you can do to improve the latency. But for the most part, it is depending on your equipment and your bandwidth and, what kind of music you're playing. All of that has to do with the quality of the sound and the latency. And so today, I've been involved with JackTrip for about 15 years. It was written by a professor at Stanford, Chris Chafe, and his student, Juan Pablo Cáceres, and a team of programmers. And over the years, it's really developed very, very slowly up until 2020 and the pandemic, right? And then everybody wanted to do JackTrip because we were all in lockdown. Singers wanted to keep singing, choruses wanted to keep chorusing, and we all wanted to keep jamming music together, even though we couldn't be together in person. So the JackTrip found, I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen and show you a few things. So the JackTrip Foundation was created in order to continue to develop JackTrip and to support the team of programmers and users that were using JackTrip. From here, there was a branching, and there came the JackTrip Labs. The JackTrip Labs puts out a little hardware device called the JackTrip Bridge. And I'll stop sharing just for a moment so I can show you the JackTrip Bridge. Oh, and my background is getting in the way, but this is the JackTrip Bridge, and basically it runs with Ethernet. JackTrip is an Ethernet protocol application, does not speak Wi-Fi, so if you want to use JackTrip, you need to have a wired Ethernet connection. You can plug in, this is a brand new feature, you can plug in your USB device, and then you plug in your output here, and you plug in your input here. It's got room for a little microphone input, but if you are going to use your USB interface, then you've got your microphone maybe plugged into that, and you have some good preamps and so forth. So I'm not going to show how to use the JackTrip Bridge today. I'll show you a little bit about the JackTrip Virtual Studios, which are the servers. So JackTrip is a server client application. So you have to have a server that is running the JackTrip app, and then you have a client that connects with that server. And so all the clients would connect to a server. You can run a server on your own computer, and you would have to have enough bandwidth and resources in order to host however many connections you have. You can create your own server in the cloud using Amazon or Linode, I think, is another one. There's a lot of server farms out there right now that you can spin up a server and pay a monthly fee or whatever for it. And so then you would load JackTrip. But both of those options are all managed by the server admin, you. If you're running it on your own computer or you're creating a server in the cloud, those things would be run by you. Now, to make things a little easier, the JackTrip Labs people, sponsored by JackTrip Foundation, have created so I'll start sharing again. So they've created a whole bunch of servers that people can log on to. These are free servers here, all these public in Baltimore, public in Boston, public in London, Los Angeles, Melbourne. There's a bunch of them. And what you can do is log on there to see if you have anybody there to play with, or you can just do some testing. Now, right here tells you what the server IP address is. If you have a JackTrip Bridge, you won't need this server IP address, because the JackTrip Bridge is going to be able to connect directly. So here's my audio devices and here's my bridge. So I could take the JackTrip bridge if it was plugged in, which I haven't plugged it in, but if it was, I could connect to Los Angeles with my bridge. I don't have to worry about a server maintenance. I don't have to worry about running an app on my computer. I just have a little hardware box. The JackTrip Labs and Foundation people are furnishing the server, and then I hit connect, and I can connect. But what if I have the app? And I think today I will cover how to get the core app on your computer, and then you would be able to just dial in this server IP address to the core app and connect from there. So, are there any questions so far about what I've said? And I'm looking on the chat to see if anybody has questions. Nobody? Okay. Are y'all still with me? Great. Thank you, Ross. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, just let me know if you have any questions at all. And here's some more chatting. Yeah, yeah. Like a bot. I'm not sure your real name, if that's it or not, but in 2020, he's saying he wishes he had known about JackTrip because they were using Sonobus. Now, Sonobus is a good app. It's not as low latency, I would say, as JackTrip, and you know, there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Sonobus is a very, very low barrier to entry, so it's very, very easy to use and get it started. JackTrip is a little steeper. It has a little bit more that you can do with it. And so it's just a matter of choice. But seriously, if you have any questions at all, I'm very happy to have an email with you. Kevin, for someone who's used Jamulus, key differences, I do not know the differences between Jamulus and JackTrip. I'm sorry. What I do know is that when you create a studio, a virtual studio in the JackTrip Labs interface here, you can, we'll just call this Jamulus. I'm not going to actually start it, but I'm going to show you. I'm creating a server. I'm creating a virtual studio server for JackTrip right now in the JackTrip Labs. So over here, you could say, do you want it self-hosted or JackTrip managed? And you can also choose your location. So we'll just say, where's LA? There it is. And then when you go to the next page, well, they've changed the interface a little bit. You used to be able to choose whether or not it was jammy. I'll go ahead and create it. And oh yeah, here it is. So you see here, you could choose just JackTrip, just Jamulus, or JackTrip and Jamulus. And so when you are using JackTrip, one of the things that you can do when you have it JackTrip and Jamulus is you can change the sample rate quality. You can go, if someone has really low bandwidth, or you have really low bandwidth, you can change the sample rate to a lower sample rate so that people with lower bandwidth can use the virtual studio. And with JackTrip, I think you have to be on this CD quality 48K. The Jamulus settings let you go down to medium and low. So there are a couple of features of Jamulus that are incorporated if you choose to do so. Let's see. Okay, Stacy, thank you. So that's about all I know about differences between Jamulus and JackTrip for now. So let me just go forward and oopsie. I want this interface to go away. How do I hide that interface? I don't know.
Which interface, Cynthia?
This the bar, the sharing bar. Oh, there, I got it. Never mind.
Okay.
I wanted to put it down at the bottom of the screen. Okay, got it. One of the things about JackTrip Labs interface web service, JackTrip Labs web service, and by the way, it's app.jacktrip.org, which I will put in the chat, where you can go and sign up and use the JackTrip Labs interface. One of the great things is that they've brought this JackTrip radio service in. So when you're on your JackTrip studio and you've started your studio and you're going to play, you can hit this radio button and it lets you broadcast. And so then it'll give you a link to your broadcast station, and your listeners just type in that link, whatever it is, and hit OK or enter, and they will hear your jam. It'll be like a stereo mix down of your jam. And so this is again, is on the app.jacktrip.org, and hit the radio tab over here, JackTrip Radio. And then you can listen if you have the link to the jam that you want to listen to. You can also, I believe, no, I'm not going to say that, because I know that I could type in a URL or an IP address and get a stream, but I don't think you can on this. So any case, so that's JackTrip Radio. But like I said, for today, I want to show you the core app. I want to show you the application that is under the hood of all of this technology that the JackTrip Foundation, the JackTrip Labs, is using to create the JackTrip experience. So the first place is JackTrip lives at GitHub. And I know some people think it's really tough to use the GitHub app, but honestly, it just takes a little bit of practice. So the first thing you do, jacktrip.github.io/JackTrip, and you'll be on the developer site where you can go to a user guide. You can go to a developer guide, because we need developers, right? This is an open source MIT licensed application. JackTrip is. It has Linux version, it has Mac version, and Windows version. I'm on Windows today. I also have a Mac, and I was going to show Mac settings just in case people are using their Mac. I'll show you that in a minute. But for the most part, I'm going to be on Windows, because I was running into a lot of people who were using Windows and needing support. So I just decided to be dual platform. I have not gone to Linux yet to be triple platform, but that would be my next thing, to do a dual boot on the Mac with Linux. All right, so here we are. We're at JackTrip's GitHub sort of developer and user site. And then over here is where the actual JackTrip releases live. And this is the actual GitHub. So you click on that, and you could also find it by github.com/JackTrip. And yes, this is not easy to read for someone who's not experienced, but all you need to worry about is right here. Do you see this? Releases. This is where anytime you go to a JackTrip, a GitHub location, you're going to look over here for the releases that are available. The latest release of JackTrip is 1.5.3. And so you just click on there. You go down, you scroll down. These are the last things that changes that they did to this last version, 153. And then you're going to go down here and you're going to choose the version that's right for you. Oh, there's two windows. One's binary, one's an installer. If you don't know what a binary is, don't bother it. Go to the installer. It'll do all the work for you. Basically, a binary allows you to just download the app and you can put it where you want it. But if you don't know about binaries and how to deal with a binary app format, don't do anything with it. Just use the installer. So you go to the installer, it downloads automatically to your computer. You open it up. And of course, I'm not going to set it up because I already have it. But it's going to put JackTrip, it's going to install it on your computer. So I'm going to cancel that. All right, how we doing? Everybody with me still? All right, great. So once you have JackTrip installed on your computer, you're going to see a little icon. Do you see this little tiny icon, this red? It looks like an S. It's actually two cables meant to look like JT or JackTrip, I think, something like that. So you would just open up JackTrip. I'm going to minimize this, minimize that, minimize that. I'm just going to have JackTrip up here. So here's the JackTrip interface. Now, with version 1.5, you get this really nice interface. Before 1.5, you had to do a command line, which means you open up your terminal or your control, and you type in, JackTrip -C. That means you're a client. Then you type in the IP address, blah blah blah, and then you might type some other stuff. We don't have to do that anymore. I mean, it's nice. I feel very gifted to have learned JackTrip so long ago that I was taught by the developers, and I learned this, and I learned about some things about coding and about using command line. That's what that's called, command line. But now we have this wonderful interface that was written by one of the wonderful developers, Aaron Wyatt, out of Australia. And so when you're running JackTrip, like I was saying before, you can run it as a server, peer-to-peer. That's just server client, one server, one client. You have to have the bandwidth. You have to have the resources to be able to host someone on your network. But most of the time, we're running as a hub client, right? Remember I said JackTrip is server and client, right? Clients plug into a server. So we're going to run as a hub client. And I don't remember if I said to share sound. So I'm going to stop my share, and then I'm going to share again, and I'm going to say share sound, share. Okay, now we should be able to hear when I connect to Stanford has a whole farm of test servers. Like I was showing you on the JackTrip.com web service, they have some test servers. So does Stanford have some test servers. So the address of the test server I'm going to connect to is called jackloop128.stanford.edu. You want to go to the received from network. Usually it's mono coming from the jackloop for Stanford servers. So you're only going to get one side of your output, your headphones or your speakers, and it's hard panned left. So you always want to make sure you have your left side of your headphones or your speakers active. You can send two, but you're only going to get back one channel. So then in audio options, you always want to use local port 4464 for JackTrip. That's hard coded into the app, and it's always going to be that. Now, if you want to run 2 instances of JackTrip on the same network, you can. You just have to change the local port to a different number than 4464. But your remote port's always going to be 4464. The queue buffer length is going to allow you a little bit of wiggle room with the latency. So that's a kind of experimental thing that you do on your own. Audio bit resolution is always going to be 16. Some people have tried 24. Some people run JackTrip with a program called Jack. I know it's so confusing, but yeah, it's called Jack Audio. And Jack Audio is a mixer, an audio mixer that allows you to move different instruments and audio inputs around. And it runs JackTrip natively. So it works in tandem with JackTrip. JackTrip does not actually process audio. Okay. Your computer is processing the audio, and the JackTrip just hands off the audio to the network and brings it back to your computer for audio. So it's not actually processing audio. It's just sending packets of audio. Okay. Now, you want to definitely connect your default audio ports and enable real-time priority for networking threads. You can get the command line if you want to know what it is. There it is. That's all you'd have to type all that into your command line if you were still using, if you wanted all those features, if you were using command line. How we doing on time? 4 minutes. Good. Perfect. So on with this interface now. I'm not going to go through every single thing. I'm just going to show you the things that are the most important. Okay. The audio backend is the backbone of this application. The audio backend, now here's a new feature. You can either run real RT audio, which allows you to use your computer's operating system, your native audio drivers, and requires no additional software, meaning you don't need Jack anymore. You used to only be able to run JackTrip with Jack. You have that option still if you have Jack Audio, which I do, of course, because I started in the early days, but and I still use it because remember I was saying how you're only going to get one channel from the server at Stanford. Well, RT Audio is also just one channel. So if you want to run more than one channel, you need to get Jack, and you need to learn how to interface that with JackTrip. But like I said, today I'm doing bare bones because these are new features that people can get started much easier, much quicker. Kind of like, well, I'm not going to say kind of like Sonobus because Sonobus is so easy. You just open it and it's running, practically. So your sampling rate for JackTrip is always going to be 48,000 or 48K. And that's how many times per second the application is grabbing the audio and sending it out. And the buffer size, you can choose the buffer size. The lower the buffer size is, the less latency you're going to have. So the faster the audio is going. But you might get dropouts. So what happens? The faster it's going, it can't, if your resources, your internet and your computer can't keep up, it's going to drop audio. So the quality of the audio might suffer. The higher the buffer is, the slower the data is, and the quality is better because it has more time. The data is given more time to get through. Now, remember what I was saying over here in in advanced options about the queue buffer length? If you are running 64, which is quite fast, but you're getting dropouts, you can come over here to the queue buffer length and you can increase the queue buffer length. So it's kind of like think of a train station where the train cars are coming through. The queue buffer length is giving the trains a little bit more time to get that data through. Is that making sense? I love that train analogy, but Chris explains it so much better than me. But basically, it just slows it down just enough to maybe get rid of the dropouts or get rid of if there's like network noise or something like that. There's so many variables that a lot of it, getting the best sound is going to be a lot of experimentation. Okay, so back to the audio back end, which is the backbone of your audio. I'm going to change this back to 128 because that's what we did on the address of the server. And remember on the JackTrip.com, where I said the IP address of the server, you could punch that into the core app. This is where you would punch it in. So I've got a couple in here that I've got, like that IP address was from one of the servers on the JackTrip web service. So then on input device, I've got my Focusrite USB audio. Now it says ASIO. I'm on Windows. Windows needs an ASIO driver to get the lowest latency audio, and JackTrip wants the ASIO driver. So Focusrite has its own dedicated ASIO driver for the Scarlett 2x2, and most of the larger USB audio interface manufacturers are going to have an ASIO driver for their device. If you can't find one or they don't make one, you can always get ASIO for All. So that's ASIOforall.org, I think it is. You have to be very careful when you're downloading ASIO for All because there's a lot of ads around on that site. So if at all possible, get your manufacturer's ASIO, USB ASIO driver in order to get the lowest latency latency for your device. And your device will also have its own interface. So if you needed to, you could open that up to make sure that you have the right settings. Okay, so now I'm going to connect. Do you hear the clapping? Do you hear my voice twice? Are people hearing this?
I didn't hear it.
You're not hearing clapping?
I'm not. Anyone else?
Okay.
No, not me either.
Okay. I think it's because, and this is where I'm going to disconnect. This is where I'm going to show you the Mac, because what's happening there is that there's no connection between JackTrip and Zoom directly, even when you're using the same sound card. So you have to, if you're running a Zoom session and JackTrip at the same time, you have to pipe it in with virtual cables. And on the Mac, it's really easy because you just use something called Black Hole. But on the Windows machine, it's a whole deal of using virtual cables, which is not, and I want to show you settings on the Mac anyway. So I'm going to stop this share and I'm going to go over to the Mac and I'm going to share the screen on the Mac. So you can hear me, the Windows machine, and I'm going to show you the Mac. So on the Mac, we have something called Audio MIDI Setup. You see that okay? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Great. And you see here, this is a different interface than the basic Mac sound settings, right? This is in your utilities on the Mac. And again, it's audio MIDI settings. Even though we're not using MIDI, that's what it's called. And then you go to the audio device portion of the audio MIDI settings. And what I've done here is I've created an aggregate device, and that is created down here on this little plus sign. You click the plus and you say create aggregate device. And you can name it anything you want. But what that does is it gives you an interface with all your sound sources. And then you can pick out of these which ones you want to use. So I've picked Black Hole because I'm going to use Black Hole to pipe over to Zoom. And I'm going to use Soundflower as a dummy input, because if I use a live input, I'll get feedback. So now that I have this going, I can go to JackTrip, which is down here. And it looks the same for Mac pretty much as for Windows. I want Hub Client. I want that Jack Loop 128. I'm going to check my received from network is going to be 1. My sent can be 2, even though I think it's only going to accept 1. It might bring in 2. I'm not sure. I'm going to look at my options. Remember, I was saying if I run JackTrip on 2 instances on the same network, I have to change my local port to something other than 4464, which I've done here. Even though I'm not running JackTrip over here, I might. And audio bit resolution 16, audio backend, real-time audio on this as well. I'm going to set my input device for that dummy, which is there. And I'm going to set my output device for Black Hole. Then I'm going to go over to Zoom. You guys, can you see my audio settings? Yeah. So on Zoom, my input device is going to be Black Hole, because my output on JackTrip was, or on Audio MIDI was Black Hole. On Audio MIDI is Black Hole, so my input on Zoom is going to be Black Hole because those are the 2 devices. My speaker device is going to be output, but I am not going to use output because it will confuse me because it's so now I'm going to go over to Zoom. All right, there you go. I'm in Zoom. I'm confusing myself already. I'm going to go to JackTrip. I'm going to connect. And now when I unmute my Zoom, now you can hear the clapping, right? Great. Thank you, Ross. Appreciate you. Yeah, thank you, Emmanuel. Appreciate it. So I know that's a little confusing, but what I've done here is I've just piped with virtual cables the audio from JackTrip into Zoom. And it's going to be just a mono signal. Okay, so that's about it for JackTrip right now. Any questions before I go forward?
Hey, can I ask Synthia? So
Yeah.
if I want to see more examples of the results of what JackTrip can produce, I go to the JackTrip website.
Examples in what regard?
Well, I'm the least technical person here, but what I'm getting is that this is a way to collaborate from a great distance. My son lives in Shanghai. He plays guitar.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, you're not going to get it's going to still have latency. Because
Okay,
beyond about 500-600 miles, you're still going to have latency because it's physics, right? It's the
okay,
law. It's the speed of sound. It's the speed of light. Um, you can't go any faster than that, and
okay.
so you're going to have some latency going to
Okay, so
change.
that wouldn't be the result
Well,
wouldn't,
you can't play the same song together. You can certainly play together, but there's going to be
could we
300
jam
milli.
together?
You can jam, yeah, and that's just as I mean that's even more valuable sometimes than playing the same song, because you're connecting on a much more deeper level.
But then if
So
we jam together, we could be recording that and creating a radio channel that I could ask other people to listen to?
yes,
Okay,
absolutely, yes, and let me just
okay,
say that the JackTrip Core app is free, and creating your own server is free, but the JackTrip Labs web service has a charge. There will be a charge to run a server. There's no charge to connect to a server. Only the server owner pays the charge, so you and your son will have to split it. um,
no, I'll have to
and there,
pay for it. That's the way
yeah,
it works.
right. That's good. Um, and right now the radio service is free. So if you use the radio service, go hog wild because it's free. I don't know what they're going to charge or how they're going to charge for it, but right now it's free. So yeah, good. So anyway, what I just did with piping the sound from the JackTrip server to Zoom is similar to what the radio service is doing. Okay. It's just they're doing it all for you, and that's what you're paying for. So there's that. But I like to show people how they can do it for free on their own without paying, without signing up, without, all that stuff. Okay. So I have about 20 minutes left, and I did want to save a little time for questions, even though I know this is probably pretty new to people. Let me just go ahead and show you SignSpace. So I was saying, we can set up our JackTrip, we can get this wonderful audio. And right now, most people are pretty tired of Zoom. And I was thinking, well, how can we make things interesting, kind of see each other in a different way and still play together? Right now, there is no integrated metaverse JackTrip or JackTrip like app. We have to run them separately, and I'm trying really hard to get them to meet up and get something going. Like about I see, is it possible to run JackTrip streaming, Instagram, YouTube? Yes, through OBS. But if you're doing it on Windows, it's a lot of work. Better to have a Mac. And on there, basically all you're going to do is run your JackTrip audio to OBS, and then you're going to use the OBS streaming to run a YouTube, to go live on YouTube. Does that make sense? Any other question on that streaming of JackTrip? Okay, good. So here we are at SignSpace, sign.space. And because they are not integrated right now, we don't use the audio. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with this because we're not workshopping. And honestly, it's just to get something, an alternative to Zoom. And there's not going to be really any interaction with JackTrip. Like your avatar is not going to move to the music unless you move the avatar. But it's fun. And I really want to create this energy. I want to create this energy around an integrated app an integrated solution, like a VST plugin or something like that, that you could run inside of a metaverse. Here's the fundamental problem. Fundamental problem is that it takes so much longer to render the VR platforms than it does for audio. Audio is super quick, and you'll never get it to match up, you know? So we have to figure out a way to do it where our avatars will be able to interact with what we're playing on JackTrip, the quick audio. Our avatars have to be able to somehow interact with that. So here you are on ScienceBase. You're going to download the app to your computer. You're going to install it. And then you're going to go to the actual, once you get the app installed on your computer, you'll be able to click a link that allows you to actually open the app, and you will log in. And then once you this is my avatar's name. So I created an account with my avatar's name. And in this particular instance, yes, I'm a dude. But that's the beauty of metaverse, is you can be what you want to be, whatever you want to be. And quite frankly, the female avatars in ScienceBase, they wiggle. They wiggle around a lot, and it's a little bit annoying. So I just decided I didn't want to wiggle. I wanted to be, I'm trying to get them to change that, to at least give us some options, right? So here's ScienceBase. It's actually really a fun app. I just love it. Whenever you come in, you get silver to spend in their shop, and I think you come in with like 30,000 silver. So like you can go down here to the shop. It's covered up because oh, there it is. All right. So here's the shop you can go to. And if you go to clothes and then you go to silver, so now here's all the things that I can buy with silver, and some of them are free. If it says 0, it means they're free. But like if I scroll down, okay, say I want, I go over here to the search bar and I say hat. So now here's all the hats I can buy. So what if I want, okay, some of them you can't buy with silver. You can only buy with gold, and gold is real money. So it's up to you if you want to spend real money. You know, I never do. I don't engage in their e-commerce. I just use my free silver coins. But look here, I could get a cheese hat for 500 silver. Now that's a deal. Or how about a fez hat? How about a banana hat for 1,000 silver? I could also get this cowboy. I already have, oh wait, did I get it? Oh no, I didn't get a cowboy. Okay, 2,500 silver. That's pretty pricey, but I really love this hat. And look how good it looks on me. See, they try it on you and everything. So now I'm going to buy it with silver. I'm going to continue. And it's going to ask me or it should have asked me if I wanted to wear it, but it didn't. So guess what? I'm going to go to my inventory. I'm going to click on clothes. And look, there's my hat. I'm going to wear my hat. Come on, hat. So now it's going to redraw my avatar. So in ScienceBase, when you create an account, you get this house. You know, it puts everybody in the welcome area, but I always just go straight to my house because they're all so friendly and everything, and sometimes I don't feel like it. So, but there are some other really cool tabs down here as well. Like you can go to see if you haven't. I have no friends yet in this particular account. I have other accounts in ScienceBase that have lots of friends, I promise. Um, but you can also go to this explore button, and it shows you some like featured areas that you can go to that look interesting. And these are all areas you could just hit that enter button, go to. But what I wanted to show you is like their latest and greatest area. It's called the Global Village. Oops. Break Room Global. Only have a few minutes left, but I want to show you. So we're going to enter into Break Room Global. Now, like I was saying, you wouldn't like you'd have your JackTrip session going separately, and anyone who's in that session can hear the JackTrip audio. So it's no big. We're not going to use the ScienceBase audio until somebody else who isn't running a JackTrip session comes in. We could do one of two things. We could either enable our microphone down here in the right bottom corner, or we could do that piping trick. And that would pipe in JackTrip to ScienceBase. And how we do that is we go over here to that. I just clicked on settings and I go to audio, and I say my input device is going to be, it would show up if I had it running. It's going to be Black Hole if I was doing the piping. And then the speakers would be the whatever you're using for headphones. But that would only one person has to do it. And that would enable everyone in the ScienceBase app to hear the JackTrip. Or you could use the JackTrip radio and give everyone that IP address. And you still would not be using the ScienceBase audio. You'd still be using two separate apps. So this is a brilliant area. And one of the things that you can do in ScienceBase is fly. And you can go higher. And here you can see that it's kind of like an outdoor festival environment. Like over here, there's a like covered pavilion. Over here's some tables and play area. Over here is a stage. Over here is another covered tent area. There's some beautiful artwork and another staging area. Let's fly over here to this beautiful staging area. I hope my hat doesn't blow off. So here we are. There's a lot of seats for people to sit. There's the orchestra pit. And then we're going to just land. We're going to land right in the pit. There we go. So there's your audience. And I believe that there is like a video screen that you can share. Video. I'm not sure where it is in this world exactly. So here we are. So here we are in the ScienceBase, and if I go over here to JackTrip and I say connect, and now I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, oh, that's right, I don't have Black Hole on this machine. So, well, Black Hole is only for Mac, so I can't run ScienceBase on that Mac because it's too heavy. You have to have a quad core or a gaming type computer with a, you know, a dedicated graphics card. But I'd be able to hear that JackTrip clapping over in ScienceBase. So that kind of about does it. I hope that this was informative and that if you have questions or you're interested, thank you, Petaplay. I loved your presentation. The playing was fantastic and the interaction was really great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you, Ross.
That was great.
Yeah, check out JackTrip, JackTrip.org, JackTrip.com, sign.space. You got all the links there. Great.
Yeah, I put in your link so you can
Cool. Thanks.
definitely connect with Cynthia. She's
Oh, yeah, Kevin. Sorry, Sherry.
no, go
Kevin.
on.
Yeah, Second Life, right? I was gonna show my avatar that I had in Second Life. I couldn't find it because it's on a computer that's packed away. It was so long ago.
Mhm.
But yeah, how things have changed, right? With Science Base. Wonderful.
How
Yeah,
many
please feel
folks-
free.
I'm curious, how many folks are actually playing around in the metaverse?
In
Anyone?
Science Base or?
Well, Science Space or any version, even Altspace VR, anything.
Yeah, you know, I don't have numbers, but there's a LinkedIn group called #Metaverse
Got it.
and #Open Metaverse,
Right.
which probably have some hard data for you on that.
Yeah, no, I'm wondering even with this group. I mean, we know Ramon with Automate Everything, and we know UMass is involved, but anyone else? I know Ross, actually Cynthia gave Ross and Joe and myself a tutorial.
A tour, yeah.
Or anyone else?
It was fascinating. It was fun.
One person I gave a tour to didn't want to fly because they're scared of flying.
Oh boy.
The flying was the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fun. And, you know, the only drawback is that it is a little bit resource heavy. So, you know, you do kind of need some, like, I couldn't run the app. Like, we were okay because we were using the web app, but that was because Stanford was licensing that. That group has sunsetted, so I have to use the desktop app now. And when you use the desktop app, it does take the resources from your desktop. You can't run it on a dual core. It has to be a quad core, or it has to be a dedicated graphics card in order to run properly.
Great. Well, thank you, Cynthia. That was a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you so much.
Cynthia actually is quite active on our Discord channel. So feel free to, if you have questions, connect with her there. And
Yeah.
Cynthia, you're always very generous in your time. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. I'll be hanging out to help people